www.sounds.org.
It's Wednesday, it's 8 o'clock, which must mean it's time for the MooCamp Radio Show. The MK Dons radio show that thinks that strikers are overrated and that no proper team, no proper team ever has them. To kick us off this evening, I think, relatively delighted to say that Modders has chosen something listenable. Listenable-ish anyway. So we will start the show by saying that this is the Spitfires with their debut single 4 a.m.
Runs cold and they step on the walls and the weekly chase to the landlord's disgrace. But my friends, well, they don't care, 'cause they'll make sure that they're never there. But no sleep or good, 'cause it's 4 a.m. 'Cause it's 4 a.m.
You're listening to the MooCamp Radio Show on Seklo Sounds, the MK Dons radio show that had a great day out in the northeast and thinks that we should get a shit like their one for the car park at Stadium MK. More on that in the question of the week coming up in a while. I'm Brando, the man who walked into a packed Gateshead pub in my Don's top on Saturday evening to be met with just a room full of completely blank faces as they tried to work out what top this strange thing was walking in amongst them. So hi, I'm joined by the man who's slowly broadening his musical horizons to include artists other than those loosely connected to the celebrated Mr. Derek Dick, and who chose a song this week that none of us were repelled by. Say hi, Modders.
Good evening.
I've also had, just to say, a Facebook message from Paris Rayner says, cracking way to start the show. Good work, Modders. You're popular tonight.
Seems to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of our listeners like...
All of our listeners.
All of our listener likes you. Okay, to my right, the man who's made the most of getting his plaster off by spending every possible moment on social media to avoid any possible chance of breaking it again. Say hi, young Abby.
Goldfish don't bounce.
Very true indeed. And to my left, the man we'll be referring to as the horse whisperer from this point forward. Say hi, Jers.
Evening.
Well, just like the Burnley ticket office when you say you've forgotten your postcode, but can you have a ticket for £5, please? What you think is important to us. So, Modders, can you please tell the Cullens and Cullinettes how they can be part of the show this very evening?
Indeed I can. You can contact us by hiding coded messages in your customer charter, or alternatively, you can use more conventional methods. You can contact us on Facebook, and we're at facebook.com/the MooCamp. You can tweet us using the hashtag the MooCamp during the show. You can email radio@moocamp.com. You can text 80085, but please remember to start your message with £5, but not for you, or else it won't reach us. Or you can text direct to the studio on 07848 930 396.
Right, coming up in tonight's show, we wax lyrically about the delights of the North East. We'll complain wholeheartedly about not being able to get to Burnley because of work, and we'll look forward to Saturday's visit of Dirty Leeds. And next Wednesday, so remember that when you listen to this show, you could be going to the football instead. Visit of the lovely gentleman from the wrong part of Hampshire. All of that, plus lots of stuff that you'll probably need to have explained to you if you're used to more traditional footy shows. Me, I'm excited.
You're listening to the MooCamp Radio Show on Seklo Sounds, because you have nothing better to do.
It's a circle that you seek. It's the MooCamp roundabout of the week. It's the MooCamp roundabout of the week.
Yes, it is. It's roundabout time once more, where each week on the MooCamp Radio Show, I go out to see what's happening at one of the 3,426 beautiful roundabouts in Milton Keynes, and I pick one at random to describe to you in all of its conundric splendour. So if you're sitting comfortably and you've got your thinking caps on, I'll start with your first two clues this week. Clue number 1. Chaffing legs orchestrate this nighttime dance. And clue number 2, smoke gets in your eyes, making you mad forever. So that's it, that's all you're getting for now. So get in touch with us via the usual channels and let us know what you think whereabouts this week's roundabout of the week is.
I should have been prepared for that, shouldn't I?
You should have been.
But I think I covered it up so nobody will ever know. Okay. Can I just say before we go, I love that bit of music. I've always really liked that one. It was one of the bits where when I first thought this show's going to work, was when I found that, and it goes, that's great, isn't it? I don't know about you, but when I'm watching the news at home and things,
Half expect that to come in, don't you?
whenever something dramatic happens in my life, that happens in my head. And people don't understand why I'm grinning at this horrendous news, because something just terrible's happened and I've got in my head. Dun, 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 dun,
Do you know, I do exactly the same, and they did it the other night, actually. They sat there and something had just been put on the desk in front of them, and he went, this just in. I'm like, where's the music? Where is the music?
It doesn't quite work unless it's the MooCamp Radio Show.
No, it doesn't. Anyway, where were we? Go!
There we were, this just in. Following Burnley's decision to break their own customer charter by charging their own fans £19 less than the MK Dons fans to sit in the exact same stand, Burnley spokesman Ivor Tosser today gave a press conference to explain their position. Speaking in a squeaky high voice, that I won't do, with all the charisma and power of the bloke in that video on YouTube, Mr. Tosser explained that if you looked at the small print, it was legally okay, and that they were really nice people and all that, so in summary, sod the lot of you. More on this once we've considered a suitable punishment in response.
That could be classified as research if I hadn't just looked it up and wondered, wonder what that sounds like.
Boo-earns.
Boo-earns, indeed. Dear. Okay, it must be this then. Yes.
It's time for the question of the week.
I can always gauge whether I've chosen an interesting question of the week by the amount of responses that we get. And this week I clearly mucked up. Thanks for those of you for joining in. But the question of the week this week was, seeing the massive ship by the side of the riverside, what should we have beside Stadium MK? And answers we've received so far include, Pete from MK1 says a Canadian redwood would be good. I was waiting to see if anyone else was going to join. Are we not going to go round?
Okay.
We won't go round.
Andrew McPherson says a
Formerly of this
statue
parish.
of John Opsimivore.
A certain
God.
Paul Harris, first-time contributor,
listener, yeah.
says a huge barrage balloon with Pete's face on it, anchored above the stadium, illuminated for all to see for miles around.
Kind of like that. I could picture that. That's good.
Paul Harris, listening for the first time, says, or you can move the point before it's knocked down.
Okay. David Saunders says a giant Marshall amp or a huge plastic car. I love the idea of a giant Marshall amp.
That would be
good.
brilliant.
Yeah.
James Darcy says more trees.
And a certain Paul Harris says a huge anchor attached to the stadium to try and stop MK sliding further down the table, which I think is delicious.
That's very good. I like that, Paul. Yeah. Okay, well, look, if you've got any other things to add to that, if you've got suggestions for what we could put by the side, we'll talk about the big ship in a while, because the big ship was rather impressive.
Was it big?
It was big, and it was a ship. It's a big ship.
Where was it?
It was by the side of the riverside.
Funnily enough.
Yeah, thanks for that. We may clarify more on this later on. If you need to understand any more about what the ship was, how big it was and what it is, then let us know. Otherwise...
Was it in water?
Actually, it's a good question. I think it was, but I don't know. It could have been dry... No, it must be dry docked, because you can see all the keel and everything. That's
It was meant to be a
technical term.
stupid question,
Technical
but
term,
it's actually
it's
turned
at
out
the
to be
bottom.
quite a decent one.
Well, yes, I'm quite impressed, actually. Those of you who were there and paid more attention than me, let me know. Was that... I presume it wasn't in the water. That should be next week's question of the week. Was it in the water? We were just saying earlier on how dull the show is at the moment, and I'm starting to agree with myself on this. Yeah.
Joke of the week.
What's orange and white and makes your car go, but only if you're from across the pond?
We don't know. What's orange and white and makes your car go, but only if you're from across the pond?
Gasoline Lewington.
Thank you very much.
Could I just say on that point there, saw somebody on Twitter the other day trying to get really, really angry about the Dons. And don't you love just type correct, autocorrect?
Go on.
He called it Milton Kerosene, which I thought was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, I saw
Molten
that.
kerosene, we'll keep that. Molten, it was like molten kerosene, it was.
Text and tweets, etc. Dan MK Don says about a 20-hour round trip tomorrow to see an hour and a half of football. Haha, I absolutely love it. Hashtag Coid, hashtag MK Dons. Victoria says, loving the show. It should have its own theme tune. Can I write one for you?
That's interesting. Yeah, why not? Victoria, just let us know. In fact, I just send it. Come in and perform it. It would
Yeah,
be very
do
strange.
that.
We've never had a woman near the show before.
I wonder what the theme tune would be. That's Victoria's secret, this.
Oh, you
That's
can't
just-
write this,
You
can
can't.
you?
No, certainly we didn't.
Elliot from Luton has said blah blah blah, small winky blah blah, can't read or write blah blah. Sam says I couldn't make it to Middlesbrough on Saturday but wanted to, so that's almost a hand. And Friday, he said Friday. Yeah, her Frida, yeah, I know. From Stockholm says thank you for the music.
That's very sweet of her. Okay.
I am aware of that French band.
Listen to the Sticks Radio Show with me, Terry Sullivan, here on Seclo Sounds every Monday from 10 a.m. with guests from the world of entertainment and sport across hearts, beds and butts. The Sticks Radio Show